Hope you're doing well. Today we are talking about some sniping slash shooter born in heaven tips, some of the best spots to go, and range it. One thing to ask of all of you is if you have a range and a snipe that's over 100 meters and you can pinpoint the location where you were and where the enemy was, please put that down in the comments below. Let this be a community effort to help out as many people as possible. I can't go over every single spot that I think is good with every single range. However, if all together collectively, I think we can do a pretty good job of covering all of the maps. So with that being said, let's get into the tips part of this video. Rangefinder is kind of weird because unless you're using a smaller FOV, sometimes you can't see the actual range on the scope. So I have to have 50 FOV with this setup. I know some guns are different. Some you can see it at 59. With the free look change, it's kind of hard. So I went and did all these at 50 FOV so you don't have to struggle through it. So maybe you don't have to use rangefinder. No, it sounds really nice in concept, but in practice, I feel like the rangefinder could use some improvements. One last thing, I suggest using some M1As, bolt actions, anything that takes an M80 or an M62 bullet, basically. Whatever you prefer. I prefer using bolt actions for sniping. Some people like to use semi-autos like the M1A or the RSAS or the SR25, whatever. Doesn't matter what you use. Just know that basically if you're within 200 meters, you can aim right on your head and you're good to go. I have a clip here that shows it on reserve. This bolt action, you shoot a little bit straighter. Well, I tend to use them and I like using them, but you don't have to. So let's get into the actual portion of the ranges. Okay, so I just go over basically some of my favorite spots. So obviously rocks on reserve, or excuse me, customs is a pretty good spot. Basically anything over the wall is 100 meters. The back train cars is 200 meters. I think I aim to that slowly, but if you're at the rocks and you see someone on the other side of the wall, you're good to go. Back train, there's that one quest on the left side. You can see someone. So about 200 meters to the train track. So if it's not so foggy and you can see someone, 200 meters. Now on top of the train cars, unfortunately gas station isn't good enough. If you see anyone on the other side of the fence or going to dorms, you're probably good with about 100 headshot. Now this little stronghold, old construction overlook, basically you're going to be in this little new corner. If you want to see someone stronghold, if you back up a little bit, you might be able to see someone on train tracks. Other side of the blue fence by the tankers, everything over there is fair game. So this is a pretty common spot that I see people use. I think it's a good spot to cover. 130 meters, pretty easy headshots. So keep that in mind. If you happen to be in stronghold, it's almost exactly 100 meters to crack house or the med building, whatever you prefer. I've actually gotten a lot of my headshots here for Shooterborn in Heaven. And there's one last place on customs that I see a lot of people go to. And it's this top of this bridge waiting for people to run over the land bridge. And it's about 130 meters. So basically, if anyone's on the far land bridge or on the other side of the water, if you're where I'm standing now, you're good to go. Shoreline's another one. This is the radio tower area with the stashes. You gotta go a few quests here for signal, I believe. Basically anything in the field is pretty good if they're not running up onto you. Overlooking pier, 150 meters at the base of the pier. Basically anything past the sign, you should probably be good. Now, 200 meters to the front door, just so you know. Pretty solid shot. It's a little difficult angle to get. And across the way, I see a lot of people camp there. It's about 200 meters from the hill. So just keep that in mind as well. Shoreline is probably one of the more difficult people to get 100 meter headshots on. I personally don't like going to reserve or resort, but to each his own. 140 meters from this spot on scav lines. Basically, if anyone's on scav lines, you're good. And then this spot below resort, I actually like better than actually Copper Resort, is about 160 to 180 meters. I see people here all the time going across this bridge. Basically, you want to go to high traffic areas. So high traffic areas, good to go. Woods, I messed up and I should have done it from the rock, but basically the wood pile is 200 meters from the rock and Sherman stash is 300 meters from the rock. And the only place I consistently find people is at the Sherman shack area. So basically you kind of have to know distance on woods when you're shooting. So this is one of the maps the rangefinder is super helpful. This rock right here, I personally really like because you have lots of sight lines. People check it, and that little bush where I'll go to later is about 2 meters away. That's one of my favorite spots. The pier, depending on where they are, is about roughly 100 meters, so might have to back up on the rock a little bit. Back into my bush that I really like, about 125 meters from the pier. I think it's a great spot to be at almost all times on this map. You see a lot of people and you have some cover. Going under reserve, I don't like sniping in towers, but some people do. So this is, the back left corner by the bunker, and it's about 130 meters to the door. You have limited sight lines, however, it's actually a pretty decent spot. You have a coverage of the bunker. So basically, if you see anyone on the bunker that isn't immediately on your hill, you're good to go. Now, I don't like this cheeky little spot. I fell off. I could almost get on it. So I stand in front to give you some of the ranges, but basically anything that is the tech buildings, you are good to go in. So just keep that in mind. I couldn't get on top of this. You might need a strength requirement. I just don't want to spend the time. So I stand right here. And, a lot of people run by. You have a lot of opportunity to get some 100-meter headshots from here. But it's a pretty decent spot. I personally don't like it that much, but there's a lot of spots I don't like. But if you want to do it up here, go right ahead. Now, if you happen to be on top of one of these buildings, basically if they're straight across from each other, if you're on top of them, you have a 100 headshot. It's not end of the world. It's not the greatest shot, but you have some opportunity to get people going in the drop down room. And then last but not least is dome. I personally like taking off angle. This is one of my spots. Basically everything over 100 meters is past the sewer manhole, which people go to a lot. If you're at dome, it's for sure over 100 meters. Here it's a little close. You might not get it if they're actually on the sewer manhole, but yeah, anywhere from 100 to 200 meters range. So basically, if you put your reticle on their head, now this is actually on top of dome. This isn't actually in the dome, but the ranges are only going to vary. But some of the shots in the field are going to be at 300, 350 meters plus. Hard shots, and then also onto the bunkers. If you happen to see someone, those are about 350 to 380. Harry Potter is what we call it, is about 300 meters. So, not the easiest shots in the world. Definitely not unreal. So, and then I think I showed this clip earlier, but this shooting 200 meters almost exactly, and my tracer is basically spot on with bolt action, and it's silent. That's all I have for this video. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe because it helps me a great deal. And if that goes for anyone else's content, if you like it, please like and subscribe to their channel because it helps them out a great deal. That's all I have for this video. I hope you have a great day.